All right, so today we're diving into something that's pretty personal, actually. We're talking about sexting.
Yeah, it's become so common these days, you know?
It really has, but I think a lot of people don't really grasp um, how risky it can actually be.
Absolutely. It's like this weird mix of like super intimate and kind of dangerous, you know?
Exactly. So in this deep dive, we're going to look at some of the things that can go wrong, but more importantly, how you can protect yourself.
And we've got a ton of stuff to go through, you know?
Yeah.
Articles, research, even some real life
Yeah,
stories.
because at the end of the day, we want you to be informed, right?
Totally. And one of the biggest things to wrap your head around is that when you share like an intimate photo online, you kind of lose control over it.
It's true. It's like in real life, you get to choose who
Yeah.
sees you, right? But online, it's a whole different ballgame.
Totally different. I mean, think about it this way. In the real world, you know, you hand someone a photo, that's it. But online, it can be copied, sent to anyone.
It's almost like the Wild West out there. And it's not even just about your ex, sharing stuff out of revenge or whatever. What about hacking?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, you might think your cloud storage is secure or you're using a safe app, but you never really know.
Right, like those big data breaches you hear about all the time. It's easy to think it won't happen to you.
It could happen to anyone. And that's where, like, the whole revenge porn thing comes in.
Right. And it's not just about feeling embarrassed. It's way deeper than that.
Hmm.
It can really mess with your reputation, even have legal consequences.
Yeah, it's like the digital world has its own rules, and the fallout can be huge.
Hmm. So you mentioned something earlier about a digital footprint. What exactly does that mean?
Okay, so you know how you can try to delete stuff from the internet, but it never really goes away?
Yeah, like it's always lurking out there somewhere.
Exactly. Even if you delete a photo, there might be copies, backups, someone could have taken a screenshot. It's almost impossible to erase completely.
So, like, even if you trust the person you're sharing with, you're also trusting their security, their whole digital world. That's a lot of trust.
Huge amount of trust. And that's exactly why it's so important to be careful. Think about the risks.
Okay, so we've talked about the scary stuff. Now let's get practical, right? Because sexting isn't going anywhere.
Right. So how do you stay safe?
Yeah, what are the things people can do to protect themselves?
Well, communication is huge. You have to be super clear with your partner about what you're okay with sharing, what's off limits.
One article even suggested keeping a record of those conversations. I know it sounds a bit weird, but
Yeah, but think of it as like an insurance policy, you know?
right, just in case things go bad.
Exactly. It's all about respect, right? Making sure everyone's on the same page.
Okay, communication, check. What else?
Well, technology can be our friend here too.
Uh,
Have you heard of apps that have end-to-end encryption?
like Signal and Telegram, right? I use them for regular messages, but
Exactly. But you can use them for, well, any kind of message.
so how does the encryption actually work?
Basically, the message is scrambled before it's even sent. Only the person with the right key can unscramble it.
So even if someone intercepts the message, it's just gibberish to them.
Exactly. It's like having a secret code that only you and your partner know.
Okay, that's pretty cool. But wouldn't all this, encryption and stuff make things less romantic?
It's about finding the right balance. You can still be spontaneous, have fun, just do it in a smart way.
Makes sense. So consent, encryption. Anything else we should be thinking about?
Well, think about where you're actually storing these photos. You don't want them just hanging out in your regular photo album, right?
No way. So what are the options?
You could look into encrypted storage services. They're specifically designed to keep sensitive stuff, well, sensitive.
I've heard of those, but they seem kind of done intense, like overkill, you know.
Well, it's better to be safe than sorry, right? Data breaches happen all the time.
Yeah, that's true. And in this case, it's not just about protecting data, it's about protecting yourself, your privacy.
Exactly. It's like an extra layer of protection, just in case.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here. It's not about being paranoid, it's about taking control.
Exactly. And speaking of control, one of the sources we looked at mentioned something interesting, watermarking.
Watermarking, like putting your name on the photos.
Well, it doesn't have to be your name, but yeah, adding some kind of identifier that links the image back to you.
I guess that would help if someone shared it without your permission.
Exactly. It's like a way to track it back to the source.
Okay, that's pretty clever, actually. But wouldn't that kind of kill the vibe?
It depends on your comfort level, right? Some people might feel like it's too much, others might feel more secure with it.
Right, it's about personal choice.
Yeah,
But at least now we have all the information to make those choices, right?
exactly. And speaking of choices, the next source we're going to dive into is a real life story that shows what can happen when trust gets broken online.
Okay, now we're getting into the real stuff. Let's hear it.
Okay, so this story is from someone we're calling Person A, and it's rough, Like, it really shows how much this stuff can hurt.
Yeah. Okay, tell me about it.
So Person A was in this, like, long-term relationship, right? And they were sharing photos, intimate stuff, like a lot of couples do.
They felt safe, I'm guessing,
Totally. They trusted their partner completely. But then, well, they broke up.
and things went bad.
Bad is an understatement. The ex was so angry, they just started sharing those photos everywhere, like online to friends. It was awful.
Oh, wow, that's just not cruel. Person A must have felt so betrayed.
Exactly. And that's what's so messed up about revenge porn. It's not just the photos themselves, it's that feeling of being violated, like your most prided self is just out there.
So what happened? Did person A do anything?
They tried to talk to their ex, but the ex just denied everything, said they had no idea how the photos got out.
Classic gaslighting. So
Yeah.
what could person A even do at that point?
Well, it's tough, but there are options.
Okay, because I'm sure people listening are wondering, like, what would I do?
Right. So one thing you can do is contact the website, wherever the photos are posted, and ask them to take them down.
That makes sense. But what about the emotional side of things?
That's important too. There are support groups, counseling, people who understand what you're going through.
Right, finding support is so important in those situations.
Absolutely. And that actually brings us to another story. This one's a bit more positive.
Oh, good. A little bit of hope.
Right, exactly. So we'll call this person Person B.
Okay. What did they do differently?
Well, Person B is really cautious about sexting. They only use apps with that end-to-end encryption we were talking about, like Signal.
And they talk about boundaries.
Oh, yeah, always. Clear communication from the start.
So they're basically doing everything right.
They're being smart about it. And it shows that you can have that intimacy, that fun, but still stay safe.
That's good to hear. It's not all bad news out there.
Not at all. It's about making smart choices and being aware of the risks.
Okay, so we've heard two stories now. One that shows how bad things can get, and one that gives us some hope.
And it brings up a big question. What happens if, despite all your precautions, something still goes wrong?
Wait, so even if you do everything right, things can still happen?
Unfortunately, yeah. Tech isn't perfect. People can be sneaky. Things happen.
That's kind of scary.
Yeah.
So what can you do in that situation?
Well, first, don't freak out.
Easy to say, right?
I know, but it's important. You need to stay calm and think clearly.
Okay, but like, what are the actual steps?
First, gather evidence. Screenshots, where the photos were posted, anything you can get.
Oh, like if you need to take legal action.
Right. Because in a lot of places, revenge porn is actually illegal. There are laws against it.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Uh,
But what if it doesn't exactly fit those laws? Are there other options?
yeah, you could sue for defamation, harassment. There are a few possibilities.
Okay, that's good to know. But what about actually getting those photos off the internet?
There are actually services that can help with that. They specialize in taking down, like, sensitive content.
So they're like digital cleanup crews.
Kinda. They work to make those photos disappear.
That's amazing.
Uh,
So even if it feels hopeless, there are things you can do to fight back.
exactly. It's about regaining control, taking back your story. And remember, the faster you act, the better.
So it's like you got to be proactive, you know.
Exactly. Don't wait. Reach out for help, whether it's the police or a lawyer who knows this stuff, or even those removal services.
There are people out there who can help,
For sure. It's all about knowing your rights, having a plan.
even if you hope you never have to use it.
Exactly. And that brings us back to, what this whole deep dive is about, making informed choices.
Protecting yourself, being smart about it.
Yeah. One thing that's really interesting to me is how much this whole sexting thing has, like, evolved. It's not just about the tech anymore.
It's about so much more, like respect, boundaries,
Totally understanding that what we do online, it has consequences.
real world consequences.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a good sign, It means we're starting to take this seriously.
Right? Like we're having these important conversations.
And the more we talk about it, the less taboo it becomes.
Exactly. And that's what this is all about, right?
Yeah.
Giving people the knowledge to protect themselves.
It's all about empowerment.
So as we wrap things up, I just want to say, you know, it's okay to feel a little uncomfortable with all this. It's personal stuff.
It is. And that discomfort just means we're actually engaging with it, not shying away from it.
Right, because these are important conversations to have.
Absolutely. And it all comes down to creating a culture of, like, awareness,
Great.
respect,
Yeah, that's the key. So one final question for you. In this crazy digital world where things are changing all the time, how do we make things safer? How do we protect people's privacy, make sure these intimate images are treated with respect?
That's the big question, right? And honestly, it's going to take a lot of effort from everyone. We need better tech, stronger laws.
Education. We need to be talking about this more.
Exactly. It's about creating a culture of consent, online and offline.
It's a big challenge, but we have to try.
You can't ignore it, that's for sure. The stakes are way too high.
All said. So we'll leave you with that to think about. Hopefully this deep dive has given you some tools, some knowledge to navigate this whole world of sexting and privacy.
Be safe out there. Remember, knowledge is power.
Until next time.